Stillness is not just the absence of noise or movement. It is something deeper, something beyond what we can see or hear. Many people think that if they sit in a quiet room, they are experiencing stillness. But true stillness is not about the outer world. It is about the mind itself. Even in complete silence, if your thoughts are racing, you are not truly still. The mind is always moving, like the surface of a lake on a windy day. Thoughts rise and fall, one after another, just like waves. Sometimes we try to stop them, believing that if we could eliminate all thoughts, we would achieve peace. But this is not how stillness works. Trying to force the mind to be quiet is like trying to stop the wind with your hands. The more you struggle, the more restless you become. True stillness is not about stopping thoughts. It is about seeing them clearly, without becoming lost in them. Imagine standing on the shore of a river, watching the water flow. You do not need to jump in and fight against the current. You do not need to hold on to each wave. You simply observe. In the same way, the mind can find stillness when it stops grasping at each thought, when it stops trying to control everything. Many people believe that a still mind is an empty mind. But stillness is not emptiness. It is clarity. When the lake is calm, it reflects the sky clearly. When the mind is still, it reflects reality without distortion. In this state, you can see yourself and the world more clearly. You begin to understand what is important and what is unnecessary. You realize how much energy is wasted chasing after thoughts that lead nowhere. This kind of stillness is not something we create. It is already there, beneath the surface of our busy minds. We do not need to build it. We only need to uncover it. The more we allow the mind to rest naturally, the more we discover this quiet, steady presence within us. True stillness is not an escape from life. It is a return to something more real, something that has always been with us. When we stop chasing every passing thought, we find that stillness is not distant. It is right here, waiting for us to notice. Many people believe that their mind is naturally busy, filled with endless thoughts, worries, and memories. They assume this is just the way the mind works, something they must accept. But have you ever asked yourself, who is watching these thoughts? If you can observe your mind's activity, does that mean you are the thoughts themselves, or are you something deeper? The mind creates thoughts automatically, like a tree producing leaves. Thoughts appear, change, and disappear, just as leaves grow, change color, and fall. But we often make a mistake. We believe that we are our thoughts. When a thought appears, we follow it without question. We get pulled into memories, emotions, and imagined futures, as if we have no choice. This creates noise, a constant movement in the mind that never seems to stop. But here is an important truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. You are the awareness behind them. When you realize this, something changes. Instead of being trapped in every passing thought, you start to see them as they really are. Temporary, like clouds in the sky. A cloud may block the sun for a moment, but it never stays forever. In the same way, no thought, no matter how strong, is permanent. Many people try to quiet their minds by force, thinking they must stop every thought in order to find peace. But this is like telling the ocean to stop making waves. It is not necessary to stop the movement. It is only necessary to stop identifying with it. When you stop believing that every thought is important, the mind naturally becomes quieter. Some thoughts will still come, but they lose their power over you. A passing worry does not need to become suffering. A passing memory does not need to pull you away from the present moment. The less you cling to them, the less they control you. you begin to notice the space between thoughts, the gaps of stillness that have always been there but were hidden beneath the noise. The busy mind is an illusion. It is only busy when we believe every thought matters, when we chase after each one. But when we step back and see thoughts as passing waves, we discover something surprising. The mind was never truly busy. It only seemed that way because we never stopped to look. No matter how hard we try to stay still, the mind always wanders. One moment, we are calm, present, and aware. The next moment, we are lost in thought, caught in a memory, a plan for the future, or a small worry that suddenly feels important. This is natural. The mind moves, just as the wind blows. The question is not how to stop it forever, but how to return to stillness when it moves away. Many people become frustrated when they notice their mind wandering. They think, I lost my focus, I failed. But there is no failure in noticing. In fact, the moment you realize your mind has drifted, you are already returning to center. Awareness itself is the return. You do not need to fight your thoughts or judge yourself for getting distracted. You only need to recognize where you are and gently come back. Imagine a boat floating on a lake. If the wind pushes it away from the shore, you do not need to get angry. You simply guide it back again and again. The same is true for the mind. No matter how far it drifts, you can always return. Each time you do, you strengthen your ability to stay centered. But how do we return? Not through force, not through control, but through simple recognition. When you realize that your mind has wandered, take a deep breath. Feel the present moment again. Notice what is happening now, the sensation of your body, the sounds around you, the feeling of the air. There is no need to push anything away. Just return, without effort, without resistance. Many people believe that stillness requires deep concentration. But returning to center is not about effort, it is about letting go. If you try too hard, you only create more tension. The mind is like water. If you shake it, it becomes cloudy. But if you allow it to settle, it becomes clear on its own. Every time you return, you deepen your connection to stillness. Over time, the mind learns to settle more easily. You begin to trust that no matter how often you wander, you can always come back. And in this gentle return, you discover something important. Stillness is never far away. It is always here, waiting for you to notice. The breath is always with us, from the moment we are born until the moment we take our last breath. Yet most of the time, we barely notice it. It happens on its own, without effort, without thought. And because it is always there, the breath can be a powerful doorway to stillness. Not through control, but through simple awareness. Many people misunderstand the role of breathing in stillness. They think they must change it, slow it down, or make it perfect. But the breath does not need to be controlled. Stillness does not come from forcing the breath into a certain rhythm. Instead, it comes from noticing it as it is. Whether your breath is deep or shallow, fast or slow, does not matter. What matters is that you observe it without interference. The breath is like an anchor. When the mind begins to wander, the breath is always there to return to. It is steady, constant, a rhythm that continues no matter what happens in life. By bringing your attention to it, noticing the cool air as you inhale, the warm air as you exhale, you naturally return to the present moment. You do not have to do anything special. You simply allow yourself to feel what is already happening. Some people say, "But my breath is uneven. It feels restless." That is fine. The breath, like the mind, changes. There is no need to fix it. If you simply observe, without trying to shape it, you will begin to notice something important. The breath naturally finds balance on its own. The more you leave it alone, the more it settles, just as water becomes clear when left undisturbed. When we give attention to the breath in this way, something shifts. We are no longer lost in thoughts, no longer caught in the endless movement of the mind. We are here now, in the body, in this moment. The breath does not demand anything from us. It does not pull us into the past or push us into the future. It simply invites us to be present. Stillness is not about stopping thoughts or controlling the mind. It is about allowing what is already here to reveal itself. And the breath, always present, always steady, is a quiet guide leading us back to the center, again and again. Many people think that stillness is something that only happens during meditation or in a quiet place. They believe they need to set aside time, sit in silence, and remove all distractions in order to experience it. But true stillness is not limited to special moments. It can be found anywhere, at any time, even in the middle of daily life. Stillness is not about the environment. It is about how we meet each moment, whether we are walking, washing dishes, or talking with someone. There is always an opportunity to return to stillness. The key is to pay attention, to notice what is happening right now, instead of being pulled away by thoughts. When walking, feel the ground beneath your feet. When drinking tea, notice its warmth. When listening to someone, really listen, without waiting for your turn to speak. Most of the time, we live on autopilot. Our bodies are here, but our minds are elsewhere, thinking about the past, planning for the future, or worrying about things that may never happen. This is why we often feel restless, even when we are doing nothing. The body is still, but the mind is racing. But if we bring our full attention to what we are doing, even the simplest actions become moments of stillness. Some people believe that stillness means stopping all activity, but that is not true. Stillness does not mean doing nothing. It means being fully present in whatever you are doing. A person can be moving and still be centered. A person can be speaking and still be calm inside. The stillness we are looking for is not a lack of movement. It is a quality of presence, a way of being fully here. Think of a tree standing in the wind. The branches move, the leaves rustle, but the trunk remains steady. In the same way, life will always have movement, tasks to complete, conversations to have, responsibilities to take care of. But deep within, there can be a quiet steadiness that does not change, no matter what is happening around us. This is why stillness is not something we need to search for. It is already part of our daily life. The question is not, can I find stillness? The question is, am I noticing the stillness that is already here? When we stop searching and simply pay attention, we realize that stillness is not far away. It is always present, waiting for us to return. Many people think of stillness as something weak or passive. They believe that to be strong, they must always be active, always thinking, always doing. But true strength is not in constant action. It is in knowing when to act and when to be still. Just as the deepest parts of the ocean remain unmoved, even when the surface is stormy, true strength comes from a place of inner steadiness. Stillness is not about escaping from life. It is not about avoiding responsibility or ignoring problems. In fact, the more we cultivate stillness, the more clearly we can see what needs to be done. When the mind is restless, it reacts blindly, without wisdom. But when the mind is still, it sees things as they are. It becomes like a clear mirror, reflecting reality without distortion. When we are caught in constant thinking, we often act out of habit, repeating the same patterns over and over again. But when we pause, when we allow stillness to enter, we create space. In that space, we can respond instead of react. We can choose our words more carefully, act with more kindness, and face challenges with a steady heart. This is the quiet strength of stillness. It allows us to meet life with wisdom instead of fear. Some people fear that if they become too still, they will lose motivation. They worry that without the noise of ambition, they will stop moving forward. But stillness does not take away action. It makes action more meaningful. When we act from a place of inner quiet, our efforts become more focused, more intentional. Instead of chasing after things blindly, we move with purpose. Think of a great mountain. No matter how strong the wind blows, no matter how much the weather changes, the mountain does not move. It does not resist the wind, but it also does not get carried away by it. This is what stillness offers. Not an escape from life, but a way to stand firmly in the middle of it, steady and unshaken. Stillness is not something outside of us. It is not something we must create or achieve. It is already within us, beneath the surface of the restless mind. All we need to do is stop, notice, and return. When we do, we find that stillness is not empty. It is full of quiet strength, deep wisdom, and a steady presence that has been with us all along. Stillness is not a destination. It is not something we find once and then keep forever. It is something we return to, again and again, throughout our lives. Just as the breath continues without effort, stillness is always present, waiting for us to notice. No matter how busy life becomes, no matter how many distractions pull us in different directions, stillness is never far away. Many people believe that peace and clarity come from changing their external circumstances. They think, if only I had more time, if only my life was simpler, if only the world were quieter, then I could find stillness. But the world will never be completely quiet. There will always be noise, movement, and challenges. The secret is realizing that stillness does not depend on the outside world. It is something we carry within us. Even in the middle of daily life, we can pause for a moment and return to stillness. We can take a breath, notice where we are, and feel the steady presence beneath all the movement. It does not take long. Just a moment of awareness is enough to reconnect. And each time we return, we strengthen this connection. Stillness does not mean shutting ourselves off from life. It does not mean avoiding responsibilities or becoming distant from others. In fact, when we are centered in stillness, we can engage with the world more fully. We can listen more deeply, act with more wisdom, and meet each moment with a steady heart. Thank you for spending this time with me and reflecting on stillness. I appreciate everyone who takes the time to watch, to listen, and to explore these ideas. Your support, whether through likes, comments, subscribing to this channel, or even sending a super thanks, means a great deal. It allows me to continue sharing these reflections with you. If these words have resonated with you, I am grateful. May you continue to return to stillness, not as something distant, but as something that has always been part of you. No matter where you are, no matter what is happening around you, stillness is always here, quiet, steady, and waiting for you to notice.